Okay, so the title is somewhat of a lie. I mean, because this book does contain actual magic methods, but I'll get into that a bit later on. But for now, I'll just introduce what the title of the book is, and it's basically called Herrman's Tricks with Cards, and it was written by an unknown person and published way back in 1889. I'm actually not sure whether or not this is actually first edition, so yeah, I think this is just an old decrepit book. But anyways, so this book was sold for approximately 30 cents, which translates to basically $10 nowadays. But let's get into what makes this book, well, basically a fake magic book. Because to a lot of magicians, I think that people will be like, oh yeah, I mean, this is a legit book. And it makes sense because Alexander Herrman, who apparently wrote this book, right, is a very popular magician. So it would make sense that Alexander Herrman, or at least one of his friends, would have written this book, right? Herrman's Tricks with Cards. But, you know, you start to realize, well, two things. Alexander Herrman never wrote a book with this title. So he wrote and published two books. So that is Herrman's Book of Magic and Herrman's Wizard's Manual. Well, maybe one of his friends could have written this, but nope. If you actually look at any book regarding Herrman, yeah, this book does not exist on like any like publication history. So, you know, who wrote this book? And the second point is, well, Herrman is misspelled on this cover. Yep, it's I think a lot of people will probably miss it because a lot of people actually misspell Herrman. Here on the title, Herrman is actually misspelled. It's actually missing an N. Okay, so the title is weird, but what about the contents? Well, like I said at the beginning, this does actually contain like actual magic methods, but the methods aren't original. Well, okay, scratch that. Not only are the methods not original, but the text itself is not original. The contents of this book are straight up, word for word, ripped off, well, plagiarized from one book, and that is, well, Professor Hoffman's Modern Magic, which was published back in 1876. So, you know, it's they're straight up stealing content. The beginning and the end, though, of the book actually contain a new section that wasn't in Modern Magic, and that is, well, Canfield's expose, which sort of reveals some scams about the Canfield game, which is some sort of like solitaire game, right? I don't know how to play it, so, you know, search it up if you want, but that's basically what the beginning and the end of the book actually contain. I can't really confirm whether or not these sections are also plagiarized, but chances are, why wouldn't they be, right? If the scammer could just like not put in any work, then, you know, why not, right? So probably the contents of this book are probably just like two books slapped together because, well, magic and Canfield scams are kind of far apart, so, you know, it is most likely just boosh, new book, right? Technically. Okay, now you have to ask, why though? Why go through all this trouble to make a fake magic book? Why go through all this trouble to actually just stitch together two books and then associate it with someone who doesn't even like have any connection with the contents of this book? Well, there's probably a pretty good reason for the scammer to do that, and that is because, well, it's easy money, right? So there's actually two successes that actually make this book a lot more viable than you would think. So the first point that would make this book viable is, well, Herrman's name. I know it's like misspelled in the title, but, well, most people won't know that, right? So Alexander Herrman was actually one of the biggest names in magic during that era, right? He was actually known as Herrman the Great. So he actually performed for a large variety of high-profile guests, including, well, Emperor Dom Pedro II of Brazil, and the Tsar. So I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Tsar Alexander III of Russia. So, you know, Herrman is a big name. The second point is, well, probably Professor Hoffman's Tricks with Cards. So in the same year, Professor Hoffman actually published a book, well, dedicated to card magic. So by combining these two, well, successes, you basically have a pretty big scam, right? So this scam is basically designed to fool beginner magicians, well, beginner and gullible magicians into, yeah, just buying it, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, there's this one book written by this one guy whose name started with H, and it's called Tricks with Cards. Oh, it must be this one, let me buy it. Oh, there's Herrman's name attached to it. Yeah, let me buy it. Yeah, it's for sure like legit, right? Because it's written by one of the biggest names of magic during this era. But that's not true, because clearly it's misspelled, and it is, yeah, it's just copied off from modern magic. So, you know, people will buy this thinking that's actually written by Herrman, and it's just two miscellaneous books just slapped together, and that's the easiest way to trick beginner magicians into buying this book. But why change Herrman's name then? If the text was going to be stolen anyways, just why not just go big and just steal the name too, right? But I don't have any proof for this next point, but I think that this change might actually have something to do with, you know, trademarking names. So in, I believe in the US and Canadian law, to trademark a name, you have to prove that it has acquired distinctiveness. With Alexander Herrman being such like a big performer and having the performing name of Herrman the Great, it wouldn't surprise me if Herrman was actually trademarked, which means that if they actually used Herrman as it were in the book, well, Herrman would go after them, and then the scam would be just like busted. So what did they decide to do? Well, you know, the easiest solution is just change the name, right? And they did that by just removing the N from Herrman. And that's the story of this book. It's just a simple book written to capitalize on two of the most popular things during that era, one being Alexander Herrman, and the second thing being, well, the recent publication of Professor Hoffman's Tricks with Cards. So yeah, it's just a book written to scam people with one spelling change to avoid copyright, all in an effort to just, yeah, make like a quick buck off of some new magicians. It's sort of interesting to see how many stories are in magic. I mean, just this one unsuspecting book can have this much background, right? I mean, this is a book dedicated to scamming magicians, right? Imagine that. But yeah, just imagine what other stories that can lie within other books. I mean, there's so many other magic books that I'm pretty sure there's going to be an interesting backstory in them. But yeah, if you're interested in those stories, Jeremy Griffith actually has a lot more videos about these stories, so we can go ahead and check them out. But for now, I think that yeah, we can close the file on our Herrman's Tricks with Cards book, which is just a short little booklet dedicated to just a simple scam. I mean, if you think about it, if just 10 gullible magicians buy this book, that's $100 by today's standards. I mean, if I can make $100 like really easily, I probably would. But I mean, not that I'm scamming you guys, but you know, that's that. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Yeah, that's my short expose on Herrman's Tricks with Cards. And yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, and see you guys next time.